Now I want to show you all the ways that you can import other files to use in your Python script. And so I just kind of went over that with this PyTest file we made real briefly, but I kind of glossed over. So I want to go in detail about how we can use function in our files, which is really useful for when you want to borrow somebody else's code that you find on the internet, or if you just want to reuse your code over again. Okay, so I'm going to show you 4 different ways we can actually import this PyTest. But before we do that, let's go ahead and let's just add some other material to this. And so I'm going to add another function. I'll call it function 2. Okay, and so I'm just going to have it return 8, right? Why not? And the other thing I want to do is let's just add a piece of data. Like this could be a constant. Okay, like it could be pi. So we'll go, right? Close enough. We'll just make a variable called test variable. So now our file PyTest has test variable, test function, and function 2. And so we can save this. Okay, and it's called PyTest. Okay, one thing that's a little annoying about importing in interactive mode is we've updated the PyTest file, and we've already imported PyTest, but it doesn't automatically update in Python. And so just to clear everything out and just to get everything fresh start, we're just going to go ahead and exit interactive mode and restart Python in interactive mode. Okay, so I'm going to show you 4 ways that we can actually import a file. And so the first way is just like I showed you, just type in import and then the file name, right? And that will import all the data from PyTest. And so now we can do PyTest dot test function, just like we did before, and that works. We can also access our test var by doing PyTest dot test var, and it returns the expected value. So we can also look at, we also have function 2 as well. Right, and it returns 8 just like we expected. Okay, and so that's the first way you can import. The second way to import is actually use an alias. And so sometimes you just get lazy. We don't want to type in PyTest every time we want to access it. So we can, instead of just saying import PyTest, we can say import PyTest as P. And so now if we want to access thing, it's just p.testvar. Okay, or p.function2. And that just makes things much easier to type, okay? One other way is, like if we just want to import one specific function, we can do that. So we can say from PyTest import test function. Okay, and this has enabled us now that we can just type test function on the line without saying p or pytest.test function, because we've told it we want to import that function from PyTest. However, we didn't import function 2 that same way, so if I type function 2, it says I don't know what function 2 is, so you have to type p.function2. And now it knows what it is. Okay, and the final way to import from a file is just to import everything from a file. And so you can say from PyTest import star. And that will import everything. Now I can type function 2, and it will run function 2. I can type test var, and it will tell me what test var is, because we've imported everything from PyTest. So now you're probably wondering, why don't we just import everything with this from whatever import star, because then we don't have to type such and such dot anything. And that's a good question. And the answer is, if you have multiple packages in Python that have the same function or the same function name, like in our test function, we might have another package that also has a function named test function. Now suddenly you don't know what you're calling anymore, because you're not giving it a specific, I want you to call test function from PyTest, not from another module that I might have imported. And so that's why you usually don't use a star. Now the one thing that I do use a star for is math. Okay, so math is a pretty ubiquitous package for Python where it just has a lot of functions. So there actually is no sign function in Python. If I type sign of 1, it tells me I don't know what sign is. But there is a math sign function. So we could say import math, right? And then we could do math.sign, and it works. But that's a pain. So rather than that, we just do from math import star, right? And now we can just do sign of 1. And so that's from math. Okay, and so that's one reason we might use that import star method.